Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. Old demon whose face was a mixture of green and red after hearing the final announcement. He had thought that he would be able to defeat Yao Lao after their decades-long rivalry, but cruel reality taught him that even Yao Lao's disciple could easily defeat him in terms of medicinal refinement skills. Ha ha, congratulations, old Yao. Xian Kongzi cupped his hands together and smiled as he congratulated Yao Lao. Old fellow, you have taught an incredible disciple. This Xiao Yan has likely already surpassed you, right? The smile on Yao Lao's face stretched from ear to ear as he heard the many congratulations from around him. Xiao Yan's performance today had made him feel much prouder than if he had personally obtained victory. Once one reached someone of his age, one's competitive character would weaken. One would feel happier grooming disciples as one passed on all of one's abilities to them. Upon seeing one's disciple obtain such an achievement, one would naturally feel extremely satisfied as the teacher. Humph! Old demon who felt dejected when he saw Yao Lao's smiling face. He violently swung his sleeves before turning around to leave. The first elder looked at Xiao Yan from the stone stage. His old face revealed a faint smile. Although Xiao Yan was much younger than him, one's age was not really important within the Central Plains. What was important was one's strength. Regardless of whether it was in terms of Do Chi or alchemy, Xiao Yan was qualified to be treated as an equal by him. Xiao Yan, you will be an elder of the small pill tower in the future. Both you and Yao Chen should follow me. We need to discuss the matter you brought to us. Xiao Yan rejoiced in his heart after hearing the first elder's words. He hurriedly cupped his hands together as he nodded. The reason they had come to the small pill tower was because of the alliance. If not for the crucial vote, he would not have been interested in competing with these old people. The first elder turned around and slowly walked down the stone stage after uttering his words. The few elders behind him followed. Let's go. Yao Lao and Xian Kongzi's group approached Xiao Yan with faces full of smiles. They looked at the backs of first elder's group before one of them spoke. The subsequent matters would be much simpler, the alliance was likely to succeed. The 10 elders, including Xian Kongzi and the other 2 tower heads, were seated separated in a small meeting room within the small pill tower. Xiao Yan and Yao Lao also found seats by the side and sat down. After which, their eyes landed on the first elder sitting in the leader's seat. The pill tower has always been neutral. It does not side with any faction. This can be considered a rule of the pill tower. The first elder's calm voice slowly filled the large hall. Many elders have expressed their opposition to this alliance. Although the Pill Tower and the Hall of Souls are hostile, forming an alliance will break a rule of the Pill Tower. First Elder, one cannot put it this way. The Hall of Souls has captured a countless number of alchemists over the years. Although they have done it in relative secrecy, a lot of information has spread. Being the holy ground in the hearts of many alchemists, the Pill Tower has the duty to protect them, but the Pill Tower has not reacted strongly to the uncontrolled and reckless behavior of the Hall of Souls. If this continues for much longer, some alchemists will inevitably feel dissatisfied, and the Pill Tower will lose its high regard. At that time, this holy ground would only exist in name. Xiao Yan shook his head before he replied. Moreover, once the Pill Tower loses its status as the holy ground in the hearts of all alchemists, what difference would there be between the Pill Tower and an ordinary faction? Xiao Yan's words were not overly courteous, nor did they give everyone present any face. They were extremely blunt as he stated the current situation of the Pill Tower. He needed to use this somewhat serious situation to shatter the pedantic ways of these elders as they tried to preserve the rules. It must be said that these words did have quite an impact. The expressions of some elders might have appeared ugly, but they had also understood the seriousness of the situation, which was revealed by their tight frowns. The rate at which the Hall of Souls was collecting souls had grown faster during these past few years. At times, they did not even hide, undoubtedly causing many alchemists to panic, but the Pill Tower still did not take any precautions. These alchemists might endure the terror in the beginning, but their hearts would definitely cool as time dragged on. Once they discovered that this pill tower, which is considered as a holy ground in their hearts, could not provide them with any protection, why would any of them regard the pill tower as a holy ground that could not be infringed upon? The first elder in a leader's seat had become quiet because of Xiao Yan's words. Only then did he softly sigh and say, "Yao Chen, this disciple of yours is not only excellent in terms of do qi and medicinal refinement, even his words are sharp." Ha ha, a young person tends to be a little arrogant. First elder, please forgive him if he has offended you in any way. Yao Lao fondled his beard and laughed. He seemed quite pleased. Even if he is arrogant, he has the strength to back his words up. The first elder shook his head. He immediately looked at Xiao Yan and said, "Currently, you can be considered an elder of the small pill tower. In that case, there is a majority voting in support of the alliance. Although I am the first elder, I must abide by these rules. Therefore, you have succeeded this time around." "Thank you, first elder." Even with Xiao Yan calmness, his face still revealed a joy that had difficulty being suppressed after hearing these words. He cupped both of his hands together as he replied. The pill tower was the most important part of the alliance. If they failed to get the pill tower to participate, the alliance would only be half as strong even if it formed. Hence, Xiao Yan and Yao Lao had put in a great amount of effort to get the alliance to succeed. Fortunately, this effort was ultimately rewarded. The Hall of Souls is indeed the common enemy of all alchemists. Due to their strength, we have not been able to decisively engage in a bloody war with them. The losses that we would suffer would be even greater if we do. First elder sighed. However, this compromise has clearly allowed the Hall of Souls to become more arrogant. It is possible for us to use this alliance to deter the Hall of Souls. If the Hall of Souls does not know how to hold back, both the Pill Tower and I can only fight with them until the end like the last time around. First elder, you can rest assured that the Pill Tower will not be the only one fighting when that time comes. Xiao Yang reassured him in a deep voice. A smile surfaced on the first elder's face after hearing Xiao Yang's comforting words. He nodded slowly and asked, "When will the alliance begin?" First elder, please come to the Falling Star Pavilion in 3 days' time. The Falling Star Pavilion, the Burning Flame Valley, and the Flower Sect will formally form an alliance. Xiao Yan replied. Oh, even the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley have agreed to join the alliance? Ha ha, it seems that you have really planned something quite grand. All the elders revealed a slight change to their expressions after hearing these names. They could sense just how great this alliance would be if it succeeded. At that time, even the Hall of Souls would not dare to underestimate it. I will personally head to the Falling Star Pavilion in 3 days' time to complete the formalities of the alliance. The first elder smiled as he looked at the grin that covered Xiao Yang's face. He felt the blood in his body, which had been cold for many years, had unknowingly become a little warmer. Hall of Souls, will our grudge from back then be completely resolved? Xiao Yang and Yao Lao stayed for another day after resolving the issue of the small pill tower. Subsequently, they left and hurried non-stop back to the Falling Star Pavilion. As the host, the Falling Star Pavilion had much to do to prepare for this alliance. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye while the Falling Star Pavilion was busy with the matters of the alliance. The Falling Star Pavilion's defenses had become extremely tight after 2 days. Countless pairs of eyes from the Falling Star Pavilion covered a 500-kilometer radius around the Star Realm. Any slight movement would be captured by the spies of the Falling Star Pavilion. Clouds lingered over the mountain where the Falling Star Pavilion received its guests. Yao Lao, Xiao Yang, Cai Lin, and the rest of the group had already arrived here ahead of time. The doors to the Star Realm had been opened to receive guests. A bright sun gradually climbed above their heads with the flow of time. Swoosh! The rushing sound of wind suddenly broke the silence. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao were the first to detect this sound. Their heads swung to look at the entrance of the Star Realm. A cluster of lights rushed toward them. They appeared above this mountain after a couple of flashes. The light finally disappeared, revealing a group of beautiful figures. The members of the Flower Sect were the first to hurry over. Xiao Yan's eyes paused on Yun Yun near the front of this group from the flower sect before shifting to the spot at the front. There were two women standing there. Two extremely powerful auras vaguely seeped out of them. An intermediate Bansheng and a high-level Bansheng. The strength that the flower sect hides is indeed powerful. Ha ha, Fairy Qing and Fairy Hua, it has been many years since we last met. How are you? Yao Lao smiled and loudly greeted these two women. The group in the sky gradually descended before landing a short distance in front of Xiao Yan's group. The beautiful woman in green palace robes looked at Yao Lao with complicated eyes as she softly said, "You have ended up turning into an old man after having not visited for so many years." Yao Lao was involuntarily a little embarrassed after hearing her words. Xiao Yan was slightly startled after seeing the somewhat complicated eyes of the pretty woman. He was not unfamiliar with this gaze. Xianyi looked like this each time she looked at Yao Lao. It seems that teacher was handsome and attractive back then. He has left behind relationships everywhere. This is the Falling Star Pavilion? It does boast the atmosphere of a big sect. It is a little better than what I had imagined. A hot wild wind suddenly blew into this star realm while Xiao Yang was quietly laughing in his heart. A bright red light immediately appeared within the square on this mountain. The light scattered before revealing a group of people. The old man leading them had red hair that appeared extremely glaring. Moreover, a frightening aura that caused even Xiao Yang's brows to twitch spread like monstrous waves the moment this old man appeared. Ancestor Hu Yun, this old demon is still living. Yao Lao smiled as he looked at the red-haired old man. This person is likely that Ancestor Hu Yun from the Burning Flame Valley. He is indeed very powerful. Xiao Yang's expression was a little grave as he glanced at the red-haired old man. Through his senses, he could tell that the strength of this old man had reached the level of a one-star Dosheng. Moreover, this person was a little stronger than him. An intermediate level 1-star Dosheng. The Burning Flame Valley was at the level of the three valleys after all these years despite possessing a genuine Dosheng. With the strength that it possessed, it was obvious that it was comparable to the old Profound Sky sect or the Flower sect. However, it was clear that they did not reveal their strength. Old Yao, it is unexpected that you, an old fellow, are still alive. Ancestor Hu Yun loudly laughed in the sky. He led Tang Zhen and Tang Hua as they slowly descended. Subsequently, he looked at Yao Lao and loudly laughed. Old fellow, you have actually reached the Dosheng class. Yao Lao laughed. From the looks of it, it was obvious that he was acquainted with Ancestor Hu Yun. Che, this ancestor nearly died while breaking through to the Dosheng class. I am really a person with a terrible life compared to that lad behind you. Ancestor Han Yun curled his lips. His eyes swung to Xiao Yang as he spoke. This junior, Xiao Yang, greets Ancestor Hu Yun and Valley Chief Tang. Xiao Yang smiled, cupped his hands as greeted the guests. You are that Xiao Yang? What an outstanding person. You are very suitable for my Hua. Ancestor Hu Yun's eyes observed Xiao Yang before nodding in satisfaction. You. Tang Hua's face reddened after she heard her ancestor, Hu Yun, suddenly utter such words in public, but she could only clench her teeth due to the need to give this old man face. Her eyes ferociously glared at his back. Xiao Yang was a little embarrassed by Ancestor Hu Yun's words. All he could do was bitterly smile and shake his head, but he did not issue a reply. The party from the Pill Tower is also arriving. Xiao Yang's heart suddenly moved after feeling a little helpless because of Ancestor Hu Yun's words. His eyes slid to the entrance of the Star Realm as the space at that spot shook before a couple of figures strangely appeared on the top of the mountain. These figures were the First Elder and Xian Kongzi's group. Huh? Old Demon Lin, even you, an old undying fellow, have come here. Surprise immediately flashed across Ancestor Hu Yun's face when he saw the First Elder of the Pill Tower appear. Why? Old Demon Hu Yun, don't tell me that only you are allowed to come. The First Elder faintly laughed after hearing this question. Ha ha, since everyone is present, please proceed into the hall to discuss the alliance. Yao Lao spoke with a smile after seeing that everyone had arrived. He turned around and flew into the Falling Star Pavilion's main pavilion. Everyone behind him followed. Everyone took their seats within a large hall inside the main pavilion. They briefly chatted before gradually approaching the main topic. Everyone, thank you for giving us face by personally arriving at our Falling Star Pavilion. Everyone should be aware of the matter today. Yao Lao's eyes swept over the large hall. His voice was calm as he slowly said, I'm certain that everyone is aware of the actions of Hall of Souls. The Pill Tower has suffered the greatest losses since many alchemists have died by the Hall of Souls' hands. The profound Sky Sect's encroachment on the Flower Sect over these years possesses the shadow of the Hall of Souls behind it. Back then, Ancestor Hu Yun formed hostilities with the Hall of Souls, but had only ended up enduring them because he was afraid of the strength of the Hall of Souls. Yao Lao was well aware of the grudges that these three factions had formed with the Hall of Souls. Even Xiao Yan had not heard of some of the old grudges. Some time earlier, the Profound Sky Sect gathered a couple of factions and established the Profound River Alliance to destroy my Falling Star Pavilion. The shadow of the Hall of Souls was also present there. Additionally, both Xiao Yang and I are at complete odds with the Hall of Souls. Hence, this alliance is because all of us have a common enemy. Everyone present nodded without realizing it when they heard Yao Lao's words. They all agreed with Yao Lao. This alliance will work, but I don't think that interfering in the internal affairs of another faction should happen after joining the alliance, will it? Ancestor Hu Yun rotated two fireballs that he had formed in his hand and slowly asked. The alliance will be formed on equal terms. Every party is equal. Naturally, no one will have the authority to interfere in the affairs of another faction. Yao Lao replied in a solemn fashion. Everyone's expressions relaxed after hearing his words. The most worrying aspect of an alliance was the occurrence of such incidents. Not only would they fail to become allies because of such incidents, they would end up becoming distant as a result. This alliance will not be created with overly harsh restrictions, but one of those restrictions will be that our few factions will attack and defend together. Everyone will reinforce any party in trouble. Not one of us will be able to fight the Hall of Souls with our individual strengths. Hence, we must form an alliance. Xiao Yang clearly understood what everyone was thinking after observing their expressions. He immediately spoke in a deep voice. This alliance can work. The first elder of the small pill tower slowly nodded as he spoke. Since this is an alliance, there must be an alliance chief. Otherwise, it is impossible for everyone to come to a united decision. Who will take this position as the alliance chief? The pretty woman in green palace clothes called Fairy Ching from the Flower Sect asked in a faint voice. The large hall was silent after hearing these words. This question was a little sensitive and important. Due to the alliance being suggested by me, asking me to select an alliance chief will only cause some unnecessary gossip. Hence, your three parties should select the alliance chief. We will agree as long as it is a suitable person. Yao Lao mused before speaking. The other three parties were slightly startled after hearing Yao Lao abandon any thoughts of taking that position. They quickly felt a little embarrassed, especially Fairy Ching. Her face revealed an apology. It was not her intention to get Yao Lao to clarify anything. Everyone need not be worried. Other than an alliance chief, the other three parties will occupy 3 deputy alliance chief positions. If the opinions of these 3 deputy alliance chiefs are unanimous, they can reverse the decision of the alliance chief. No one needs to worry about the alliance chief forcefully issuing orders. Xiao Yan laughed. The position of the chief must be a person with great strength and a reputation that everyone respects. I am not suitable for this position. Additionally, Ancestor Hu Yun might be powerful, but his temper is a little too hot. He would inevitably be impulsive. Hence, he is also not suitable to be the alliance chief. Fairy Ching hesitated for a moment before slowly speaking. Ancestor Hu Yun immediately rolled his eyes after hearing her words, but he did not object. The thing he hated most were management roles. If he didn't hate them, he would not have forced the Burning Flame Valley to be managed by others a long time ago. Hence, the 2 most suitable people are old Mr. Lin from the Pill Tower and Yao Chen. The 2 of them are powerful and also possess a great reputation and an ability to gather people within the Central Plains. Hence, we should choose the position of alliance chief from these 2 people. Fairy Ching continued. The first elder from the small pill tower was stunned after hearing he was in the running. He quickly smiled and shook his head. With a soft sigh, he said, I am far too old. My blood is already extremely cold. It would be fine if this alliance merely needed to stick to a certain area, but this alliance clearly requires liveliness. If my elderly self ends up being the alliance chief, I will likely end up making it lifeless. Yao Chen should take this alliance chief position. Fairy Ching smiled. She quickly shifted her eyes back to Yao Lao as she said, since this is the case, you cannot escape this responsibility. Yao Lao smiled bitterly after hearing this decision. He hesitated for a moment, but he did not put up any resistance as he said, since everyone trusts me, I will temporarily take over this alliance chief position. I will hand it over if someone more suitable appears. Xiao Yan smiled after hearing that the position of alliance chief still ended up in Yao Lao's hands. He softly said, since the alliance chief has been selected, we should decide on a name for this alliance. An alliance must ultimately have a name. Only then will everyone feel a sense of belonging. What name do you think is suitable for this alliance? If one wishes to choose a name, one must naturally choose a grand and mighty one. A petty little name will only end up as a joke. Ancestor Hu Yun seemed to be interested in selecting a name. He immediately said, why don't we call it Ultimate Righteous Hall? The corner of Xiao Yang's mouth twitched upon hearing this name. This name. Cough, our opponent will be the Hall of Souls. Since they use the soul as a hall, we should surpass them and use the heaven as a mansion. Let's call it Heaven Mansion, First Elder dryly coughed. He mused for a moment before coming up with a suggestion. Using the soul as a hall, the heaven as a mansion, this heaven mansion can work, Xiao Yang smiled before continuing. However, the sky is the heaven. Let's simplify this. We will call our alliance the Sky Mansion. What do you say? Sky Mansion, using the sky as a mansion, this is indeed grand. Ancestor Hu Yun fondled his beard. He felt that this name seemed a little better than his Ultimate Righteous Hall. Ha ha, that name will also work, the first elder nodded and laughed. Yao Lao grinned upon hearing that everyone was in agreement. Since no one has voiced an objection, our alliance shall be called the Sky Mansion. Using the sky as a mansion is definitely more overbearing than the Hall of Souls. The alliance has been formed. Next, let's drink in honor of this newly formed Sky Mansion alliance. Xiao Yan lifted the wine cup on the table, but his expression suddenly turned dark and chilly before he could utter everything he wanted to say. His dangerous eyes shot toward the middle of the hall. The space at that spot had suddenly become distorted. A dense black fog seeped out. At the same time, an indifferent and emotionless voice reverberated through the hall. Sky Mansion? It might sound a little domineering, but this hall chief really wishes to know whether all of you will have the life to enjoy it. This hall chief? Xiao Yang's eyes abruptly shrank after hearing the indifferent voice being transmitted from distorted space. The Hall of Souls was clearly intervening by sending this person. Moreover, this person called himself Hall Chief. Could it be that he was that extremely mysterious Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls? Black fog continuously seeped out of the distorted space. It slowly formed into a human figure completely covered in black fog in front of everyone. Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls. The eyes of the first elder from the small pill tower shot to the human figure in black fog. His slightly hunched body leaned forward. The space around him began to slowly fluctuate at this moment. Perhaps addressing me as Deputy Hall Chief is better. That black fog fluctuated slightly while a faint laugh was emitted. Looks like you, the Deputy Hall Chief, is not bold enough. Since you dare to barge into my falling star pavilion, you should use your actual body. An illusory figure, could it be that you are timid? A cold smile lifted onto the corner of Xiao Yang's mouth. With his eyesight, he naturally sensed that the human figure in the black fog in front of him was merely a shadow and not the actual body. Xiao Yang, you are the first person in many years to call this chief timid. A strange laugh was emitted from the human figure in the black fog. However, your current achievements have surprised this chief. If I had known this would happen, I would have exterminated the Xiao clan back then. Those from your Hall of Souls have said these words many times. Xiao Yan's eyes were icy cold as he slowly said. However, if you are only here to utter nonsense using your status as the Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls, then there is no need for this illusory figure to continue existing. Xiao Yan began to slowly lift his hand as he spoke. He aimed it at that illusory figure. The space around the figure began to fluctuate. The reason this chief is here is naturally because of the Chu-Shi ancient god jade in your hands. The person in the black fog faintly smiled. Black fog surged in front of him before it turned into a black mirror. The mirror rippled and an image appeared. The image was of a huge and dark prison. One of the cells had black color chains wrapped around it like a spider web. A haggard-looking figure sat in the middle of the chains. The many chains were like poisonous snakes restricted his limbs. Xiao Yan's face appeared ferocious as he looked at this figure. His body suddenly stood up. A terrifying aura erupted from his body, spreading in all directions. The tables and chairs beside him were turned into dust almost instantly. A monstrous murderous desire caused the entire hall to turn cool. Father! Xiao Yan tightly clenched his hand. His nails pierced his palm while his body trembled. That haggard figure was someone he was extremely familiar with. It was his father, Xiao Zhan. Even though he had not seen his father for many years, Xiao Yan immediately sensed a familiar feeling that came from their connected bloodline. Hand the Chu-Shi ancient god Jade over to me. Otherwise, with just a thought, this very day next year will be the anniversary of your father's death. The person in the black fog seemed to be totally unconcerned about Xiao Yan's monstrous murderous intent as he coldly cried out. Creak! Xiao Yan's expression was so dark that it was terrifying. His fist emitted a cracking sound. At this moment, he was like a wild beast. He was losing his rational mind. Both of his eyes were bright red. An insane murderous desire swelled in his mind. It roared, demanding that he tear this person in front of him into tens of thousands of pieces. Xiao Yan, calm down. A somewhat icy-cool smooth hand gently grabbed his arm while the desire to kill surged in his mind. A worried soft cry was transmitted into his ear. Xiao Yan's heart shook slightly after hearing this cry. Only then did he regain his rational thoughts. He deeply inhaled a couple of breaths and suppressed the murderous desire in his heart. His ferocious face slowly regained its usual calm. Hand over the Chu-Shi ancient god Jade. The fog around that black fog figure fluctuated after seeing Xiao Yan gradually calm down. He let out a cold cry in the process. I'm afraid that if I really hand the Chu-Shi ancient god Jade to you, my father will only end up dying even quicker. Xiao Yan's eyes were terrifyingly dark as they stared at the figure in the black fog. He said, this trick is useless against me. Bring my father to me if you wish to obtain the Chu-Shi ancient god Jade. Otherwise, I will only end up ignoring all of your threats. The ancient jade in my hand can sense if my father's alive. Should it lose contact, I will hand it to the GU clan. At that time, you will never obtain it. You are going to ignore the death of your father because of the ancient jade. That human figure in the black fog coldly laughed upon hearing these words. Xiao Yan faintly smiled. His face once again recovered its usual calm. He didn't know why the Hall of Souls was so anxious to obtain the Chu-Shi ancient god Jade. Regardless of the actual reason, the ancient Jade was the talisman that protected his father's life. The Hall of Souls would not dare to truly take his father's life as long as the ancient Jade was around. Hence, he could not hand over the ancient Jade before he could guarantee Xiao Zhan's safety. There was a high chance that the Hall of Souls would truly take his father's life the moment he handed it over. What a ruthless person. It is indeed as First Gentleman mentioned. Such methods will not work against you. As Xiao Yan regained his composure, the human figure in the black fog understood that this scheme did not have much of an effect. Xiao Yan was expressionless. He said, if you do not dare to reveal your actual body, you can get lost now. Xiao Yan, you should cease acting arrogantly in front of this chief. Do you really think that you can fight my Hall of Souls by just establishing this so-called Sky Mansion alliance? TSK, Just wait. Once all of you become aware of the strength of my Hall of Souls, you will naturally give up all hope. That human figure in the black fog strangely laughed. As for the Pill Tower, our Hall of Souls would normally give you some face, but you have given this up, so do not blame my Hall of Souls for being vicious. Coincidentally, we have been eyeing the alchemists in your Pill Tower for a long time. I will also advise the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley to not randomly get involved in this mess. Otherwise, it will be too late to rethink things when your faction is destroyed. Whether you can swallow my Pill Tower will depend on how hard your teeth are. The first elder coldly laughed. Fairy Ching and Ancestor Hu Yun narrowed their eyes, but they merely looked from the side with cold eyes and did not utter a word. Xiao Yan's eyes were dark and cold as he stared at the human figure in the black fog. He was too lazy to argue with the latter. He slowly clenched his hand. Inform everyone after you return that I will kill every single bastard from the Hall of Souls and the Hun clan in the future. The space around that person in the black fog immediately collapsed with a bang the moment Xiao Yan clenched his hand. A frightening strength cracked space itself. At the same time, the person in black fog instantly turned into nothing. What an arrogant brat. Who do you think you are? Even someone as strong as Xiao Yan was defeated by the hands of my Han clan. You, mere one-star Dosheng, really do not know your limits. Ha ha, this chief will wait for that day to come. As long as you dare to come, I will personally kill you. A strange laughter echoed within the large hall after the human figure in the black fog disappeared. The laughter continued for a long time. Looks like our alliance was discovered by the Hall of Souls a long time ago. Otherwise, this person would not have shown himself in an attempt to deter everyone present and hinder the alliance. Yao Lao slowly spoke as he watched the hall gradually become quiet. This alliance has definitely caused the Hall of Souls to feel a little fear. Otherwise, they would not do such a thing given their characters. Xiao Yang spoke in a faint voice. Has anyone heard of the Deputy Hall Chief from the Hall of Souls earlier? I've never heard of him. There are many experts within the Hun clan. This Deputy Hall Chief is probably an expert from within the Hun clan. Ancestor Hu Yun frowned and coldly laughed. However, the strength of this person is at the very most a 3-star Dosheng. Otherwise, it would not be a shadow arriving today. Instead, it would have been an actual person. He only hid himself because he is not confident he can defeat all of us. Xiao Yang slightly nodded. The Deputy Hall Chief from earlier was clearly afraid of their lineup. Everyone, the matter of the alliance has already been settled. Does anyone have any final inquiries? Xiao Yang's eyes swept over everyone as he continued. The Hall of Souls is this alliance's powerful enemy. Once this alliance is publicly announced, the Hall of Souls will definitely not stay calm. At that time, we will have to join hands and fight our enemy. The first elder of the Pill Tower, Ancestor Hu Yun, Fairy Ching, and the rest looked at each other. Finally, they slowly shook their heads. None of them were ordinary. It was impossible for them to be frightened to the point of changing their minds because the Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls threatened them. Since this is the case, we will announce this matter in a couple of days. At that time, I hope everyone will act to build a wormhole between each faction in order to reinforce any party as fast as possible. Xiao Yang uttered in a deep voice. I? Everyone nodded upon hearing his words. The alliance was formed. It was likely that the Hall of Souls would make a formal response to this alliance. Their futures would not be peaceful. Let's not delay any longer. We will now head back and build wormholes. Xiao Yang smiled and nodded as he watched Ancestor Hu Yun and the rest stand up to leave. He stood up with Yao Lao's group and sent them off. His eyes looked at their swiftly disappearing figures. After which, he exchanged glances with those present. All of them felt a storm approaching. The Central Plains, which had been relatively calm for many years, was likely going to be lively again. After the Falling Star Pavilion, the Pill Tower, the Flower Sect, and the Burning Flame Valley announced the formation of the Sky Mansion Alliance, the entire Central Plains was blasted apart by this extremely huge bomb. Chaos instantly erupted across the land. The 4 big factions possessed extremely renowned reputations within the Central Plains. Any one of them could be considered a giant. A faction like the Pill Tower could no longer be described as a simple giant. This faction possessed an extremely frightening ability to gather people. It might have appeared extremely gentle over the years, but as long as one was not a fool, one would be able to detect the frightening strength hidden beneath this lazy appearance. The lineup from the formation of this alliance between four powerful factions was many times stronger than the Profound River Alliance before. Compared to this newly formed Sky Mansion Alliance, the Profound River Alliance was an extremely ordinary shrimp. Just a random finger of the Sky Mansion Alliance could destroy the Profound River Alliance. Everyone could imagine how much the strength of this alliance, formed by the four factions, would swell. If this large alliance were to face the extremely large Hall of Souls, it would no longer need to feel the least bit afraid. A new super faction that could match the strength of the Hall of Souls was born within the Central Plains. While the Central Plains was in an uproar over this explosive news, many sects and factions began to think. Everyone in the world thought of grabbing this giant support to gain good prospects. The strength of this Sky Mansion Alliance could only be described as shocking. In the future, few factions in this world could compare with them. If a faction or an individual was able to enjoy their protection, it would end up bringing them many benefits. Hence, on the third day after this news was released, the Falling Star Pavilion had suddenly become extremely lively. The leaders of tons of factions had hurried over a great distance to reach the Falling Star Pavilion. They were all requesting to join this alliance. Yao Lao and Xiao Yan did not accept all of these requests that came from everywhere. This alliance was their only capital to fight the Hall of Souls. Naturally, they viewed it with great importance. Most of these factions were fence-sitters. They had only come to them because the alliance was strong. Should the alliance end up losing its power, these people would immediately leave. At that time, it would be a blow to the alliance's morale. Hence, they did not accept these factions, which were like rat feces. However, there was little need for Xiao Yang to worry about such matters. Due to this being a busy period of time, Feng Zunzhe, who had been managing the tasks in the other territories of the Falling Star Pavilion, had been summoned back by Yao Lao. During these years, Feng Zunzhe and Yao Lao had managed the external matters and internal matters of the Falling Star Pavilion. This was a key reason for the rapid development of the Falling Star Pavilion. Although Feng Zunzhe's reputation and strength were both inferior to Yao Lao, he was better at Yao Lao when it came to management. Hence, Yao Lao hurriedly dispatched some other elders to take over Feng Zunzhe's previous tasks once the alliance was successful. Then Feng Zunzhe hurried back and resolved all these troublesome tasks. There was clearly no need to doubt Feng Zunzhe's ability to manage. Soon after returning to the Falling Star Pavilion, he had begun to settle various tasks. After numerous tasks were settled in an orderly fashion by Feng Zunzhe, both Xiao Yang and Yao Lao ended up feeling a little ashamed. Following the flow of time, some factions passed the strict selection process and successfully joined the Sky Mansion Alliance. This allowed this alliance's reputation to continue rising a little at a time. If this positive cycle continued, the potential of the Sky Mansion Alliance would undoubtedly be a little frightening with the help of the Pill Tower. The four big factions had made full use this period of time to build the wormholes. Now, they would be able to rapidly hurry to each other's aid. Only then could they be considered an alliance that attacked and defended together. However, Xiao Yan found it a little surprising that the Hall of Souls did not do anything while the alliance was busy. It was as though they need not care about this alliance that could threaten them. Regardless of what the Hall of Souls did, Xiao Yan's group had decided to establish a specialized information hall after some discussions. The aim of this information hall was to investigate all of the branches the Hall of Souls had created across the Central Plains. One should always know one's enemy as well as one knows oneself. The Hall of Souls was their greatest enemy. Hence, the alliance needed to be aware of their locations. Once the time was ripe, they might even be able to shift from being passive to being active. It must be said that the cooperation of the four big factions after the formation of the alliance was extremely great. Within half a month, 2 of the branch halls of the Hall of Souls had been discovered. Although they had suffered some losses during the search, they still ended up gaining a lot. Xiao Yang felt the impulse to eliminate these branch halls personally, but he suppressed this impulse after calming down. Although the strength of the alliance had been increased, they would end up in a situation where no one would win if they were to fight to the death with the Hall of Souls now. This ending was not what Xiao Yan desired, because there was still the even more frightening Han clan behind the Hall of Souls. The alliance might be a sharp weapon used to fight the Hall of Souls, but it was also a powerful strength to deter the Hall of Souls. It must possess a powerful strength at all times. Otherwise, this alliance would ultimately end up in the same situation as ancestor Xiao Yan. This alliance was only in its infancy. Once everything stabilized in the future, the influence and the abilities of the Pill Tower might even attract some Bansheng or even some Dosheng old demons who were living in isolation. If it was possible to absorb them into the alliance, they would truly benefit the alliance. Hence, the current Sky Mansion alliance could not be arrogant just because of the recent increase in strength. They would only succeed in dealing with the Hall of Souls and the Han clan if they accumulated strength slowly and were always well prepared. They would quietly gather strength and wait for the proper time to unleash it. While the alliance was searching for the locations of the Hall of Souls, the alliance also selected some extremely powerful experts to form some small teams. These teams were created to prevent the Hall of Souls from continuing to capture the souls of the alliance's alchemists. These small teams would roam the territories of the alliance. They would hurry over at the fastest speed if they discovered any alliance signal that requested help. This special protection undoubtedly pleased the alchemists from the Pill Tower. Some of the alchemists, who had been displeased about the Pill Tower giving up its neutral stance, gradually accepted the protection and the benefits that this alliance provided them with. 1 month quietly passed while this alliance was bustling with activity and unleashing a shocking potential. Xiao Yan, Yao Lao, Kailin, the little fairy doctor, and some others were seated in a quiet courtyard within the Falling Star Pavilion. It was a rare opportunity for them to gather together. This busy period had made it impossible for all of them to free themselves. There has still been no reaction from the Hall of Souls. If I have guessed correctly, they should be waiting for the purifying demonic lotus flame that will appear in 9 months. Yao Lao lifted his teacup. He sipped from it before slowly revealing his thoughts. How could they know any information regarding the purifying demonic lotus flame? Xiao Yang knit his brows. This news was something that he had learned after spending over a decade collecting all the map fragments. How was it possible for the Han clan to know of it? The things that the Han clan know far exceed what you can imagine. Yao Lao smiled faintly and said, "This is also not the first time the purifying demonic lotus flame has appeared. They have been around for many years, and probably have records of it." Xiao Yang was a little speechless after hearing this explanation. His hand rubbed his forehead without realizing it. If the mysterious light inside of his head was useless, it was really a waste to search for all the map fragments. There are still 9 months before the purifying demonic lotus flame will appear. You should also make preparations. The Hall of Souls will definitely dispatch truly strong individuals to snatch it. Hence, we must try our best to raise our strength as much as possible. Yao Lao spoke. It is not easy to advance even a little within the Dosheng class. In another 3 months, I should be able to reach the 1-star Dosheng intermediate level. At this rate, I will only, at the very most, be at the peak 1-star DKUsheng class after 9 months, Xiao Yang helplessly uttered. I am not talking about you. I am talking about Kailin. She is a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. As long as she is provided with enough energy, she will quickly advance to the Bansheng class. The heaven-swallowing python's physical body is strong. She will be able to fight against a genuine Dosheng. If she can advance to the Bansheng class, she will be of great help to you. Yao Lao laughed. That little girlfriend of yours in the GU clan is rumored to have undertaken a retreat after leaving the ancient wasteland region. Once she exits her retreat, the GU clan will have gained an additional elite Dosheng. At that time, if we call her to join us, she will definitely also be of great help. Xiao Yang could only bitterly smile after hearing Yao Lao's words. Kailin and Zun are both possessed unusually great potential. One of them was a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python, an existence even rarer than the ancient void dragon, while the other possessed the legendary divine bloodline. They would be able to obtain double the results with half the effort while training. Xiao Yan appeared ordinary when compared to them, but there was ultimately a lot of unfairness in this world. If Xiao Yan were to focus on this unfairness, he would not have been able to attain his current achievements. Although a 7-colored heaven-swallowing python will be able to advance as long as it has the energy to do so, the energy required is extremely frightening. Where can we go and find such a terrifying treasure ground? Xiao Yang softly sighed. There is a spot in this world that could help Kaylin temper her physical body. Moreover, she is in possession of an extremely rare, 9-colored essence stone. If she is very lucky, she might even be able to evolve into an existence comparable to an ancient heaven snake king, a 9-colored heaven-swallowing python. Yao Lao narrowed his eyes. He smiled slightly as he spoke. Where? Both Xiao Yang's and Kaylin's eyes swiftly gathered on Yao Lao. The 9 serene deep ground python tribe's 9 serene spring. Yao Lao laughed. His eyes suddenly looked at Xiao Yang as he said, if you wish to subdue the purifying lotus demon flame, this 9 serene spring is a place you must visit. A. Placed this part in previous paragraph to improve flow. This video will end here.